faster than any other bird when diving for food, more agile than Spider-Man as they soar between a city's skyscrapers, and smart enough to head to South America for the winter. The peregrine falcon is a rare bird indeed. Once completely gone in Virginia, peregrines are now making a comeback with a little help from man. Let's meet the students from Henrico County's Mills Godwin High School who are tracking Virginia's swift-flying falcons.
My name is Baxter, and I'm a senior at Mills Godwin High School.
Ate Jane, senior at Mills Godwin High School.
Matthew Walker, senior, Mills Godwin High School.
I'm Erin Ladd, I'm a senior at Mills Godwin High School.
I'm Lana Shamradian, a senior at Mills Godwin High School.
Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries biologist Jeff Cooper gives the class a quick, close-up look at the life of a peregrine.
This is a bird killer. It's a bird killing specialist. To watch these birds hunt, I mean, it's an awesome bird. This is the fastest bird in the world when it does a power dive over 200 miles an hour. So a lot of times it'll be flying up high. It'll spot prey flying below. It'll stoop on the bird and actually hit it with its feet sometimes, and that'll stun the bird, and then they'll swing back around and pick it up in midair. Or sometimes they'll just grab a bird in midair. A very powerful flyer, very agile. They need open areas to hunt in.
Once those open areas were rocky cliffs in the mountains of western Virginia. Out of necessity, perhaps, the falcons have adapted to a very different habitat.
Peregrines use urban areas. Is anyone aware or know any reasons why an urban habitat may be good for peregrine falcons?
Maybe the buildings are like cliff faces.
And that's exactly one of the reasons why they do use an urban area. The buildings mimic a cliff face. Anyone else have a reason why it may be good?
There's small prey there, like rats and birds.
That is one of the reasons prey, but they don't feed on mammalian prey. They do feed on avian prey, and pigeons are an excellent food source for peregrine falcons. So those are the two primary reasons why urban situations are good for falcons.
In the heart of Richmond's financial district, the students have located one of the 18 pairs of falcons in Virginia, and the birds are on the roof of an 18-story building. Falcons have also made homes on other tall man-made structures, the Benjamin Harrison Bridge in Hopewell and the Berkeley Bridge in Norfolk. Biologists like Sean Paget have made nest boxes on these structures for the falcons to hatch their chicks. The falcon chicks will stay safe in the boxes until they're ready to fly. But when the falcon chick does try out its wings, a bridge or building is a dangerous place. So some chicks are taken from the city to the mountains, which is their natural habitat.
And the hope is to take some of their chicks from these bridges. These are very deadly areas for young falcons. Now these two birds here, we might get one to survive because they get hit by cars, they run into glass buildings. But we can take these chicks at about 3 weeks old and take them to the mountains and put them in hack boxes and hack them in their natural setting. That's the hope, that we'll have enough birds to draw from. So that's why we're encouraging them to nest here, so we can have a base to pull from.
Back in Richmond, on the roof of that 18-story building, the chicks are removed from the hack box. They will be fitted with identifying bands and moved to a special location in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where they will be cared for until they can make it on their own. Protective parents swoop and dive at high speed, trying to save their chicks from the intruders. The falcons are in an aggressive mood, and one of the parents targets another intruder, a crow that has come too close to the hack box. The crow is knocked out of the sky. Let's take another look in slow motion. Downstairs, our group prepares to help band the chicks. Banding is an important tool for falcon research. If the bird is ever recaptured or found dead, the numbered bands will tell scientists where and when the chick was banded.
We're going to band a male first. So I will need a couple assistants over here to hand me what I need. Pretty straightforward stuff.
Go ahead, guys. Who wants to do it?
Now we're gonna put, once the bird comes out, we're gonna put the color band, which is the black on red, we're gonna put that on the left leg, and the black's gonna go on top. These are the bands you're gonna be using. I might have to widen this one a tad for you.
These don't affect their flying abilities or their...
Not at all, not at all. They're so, well, you can hold one of these things. There's nothing to them. Aluminum being so light.
They're pretty light.
Yes. The black toward the belly. I give it one squeeze. Release the handle all the way. Now make sure it's there. You're seated all the way. Now you're going to squeeze again, and it should pop. Okay. And that will never come off of there.
Each of the students had the opportunity to band a peregrine falcon. Scientists and birders have banded birds for over 100 years. In that time, 58 million birds have been banded. Over 3 million bands have been recovered from the banded birds.
Okay, this one is getting blue tape. Anybody have any question of why we might put blue tape on here?
Why would you be putting blue tape?
Okay, these birds are going to a hack site, and hacking is basically an old falconry term of releasing birds of prey, for the most part, to the wild as chicks, and you can hack older birds as well. But they're going to go in a box on top of a cliff in Shenandoah National Park, and the reason we're putting this tape is that when they come back to feed, we don't want the hack site attendants who are watching these birds to have to try to read that black and green band from a distance. They can just look at color. Color shows up really, really well. So we're going to have green, blue, white, red, and yellow are all going up to the hack site.
Soon these chicks will take advantage of their powerful wings, keen eyesight, needle-sharp talons, and a hooked beak for cutting and tearing meat. They're about 35 days old and nearly as big as their parents. Finally, they're weighed in preparation for their release.
I'm going to lift it up, but if you'll just hold it just in case she busts through the bag. As she moves, it'll fluctuate. When they get this big, you have to kind of hope that she sits still, and if not, just try to get an average. So she's about 890 grams right now.
The Virginia Department of Game and Inland Fisheries is also using the very latest technology to track peregrines. Where peregrine falcons go when they're released in the mountains has long been a mystery. Now some of the falcon chicks will get special satellite tracking harnesses so more can be learned about their habits.
This is a solar-powered transmitter, about the size of a AA battery, and it weighs a little bit less than a AA battery, in fact, about 16 to 20 grams. What we can do with this is attach it to the bird. We're going to be releasing 17 birds in Virginia with these transmitters on them, and an additional couple of birds just across the river at Harpers Ferry National Park in Maryland. So for a total of 19 birds with these solar transmitters. We hope to track these birds for up to 3 years, and we'll be getting signals a couple of times a week and then tracking and plotting the locations of these birds on our website so that we'll be able to know, are Virginia's birds migratory? Are they surviving once they leave their hack site? Where are they going? How long are they staying there? And we'll really be able to monitor these birds and for the first time understand the movements of Virginia's falcons.
You can watch the falcons' movements on the department's website. In the past, some of the falcons traveled to big cities, like Pittsburgh and Boston, while others headed for more exotic locations. This falcon, named Willow, spent the summer on Virginia's eastern shore, then began to move. She traveled over open water to Florida, where she crossed the state, and then flew over the Gulf to Mexico and to Belize, and on to Panama. Outside the Department of Game and Inland Fisheries, where the students will transfer the falcons to the National Park Service for release, there's time for a few more questions.
Why did you choose a mountainous area to set them loose in?
Well, historically, peregrine falcons in Virginia and along the East Coast occurred in the mountains. The birds we have in the coastal plain are artificially there due to hacking, and nest towers. So what we're trying to do is reestablish the population within its historic range in the mountains.
What are these birds going to eat now that they don't have any more pigeons flying around?
These birds will be transferred to a hat box at Hawksbill and Shenandoah National Park, and an attendant will feed these birds quail until they're, just over 40 days old. Then they'll be released, and they'll continually feed the birds until they leave, and then they'll have to eventually forage for themselves.
Will feeding them by hand cause any problems with their, overcoming their fear of humans or something like that?
Yeah, human interaction is kept to a minimum, so try not to visibly see people feeding them. They'll feed them through a little trap door, so interaction with people is minimized, so their natural instincts are maintained.
Why did the birds start disappearing in the mountains?
During the post-World War II era, DDT, which is a pesticide, was extensively used, and they got into the ecosystem, eventually found its way into falcons' bodies, other raptors' bodies, and what happens is when they lay their eggs, they would be too thin. It caused eggshell thinning, and basically we were getting no production of young because eggshells would crack, and with no production of young, the population plummeted. And during the early 60s, it was thought we basically had no falcons east of the Mississippi naturally breeding in the United States.
Would you say they have more enemies in the mountainous regions than they do here or the tidewater regions?
Well, that's a good question. Originally, we started reestablishing populations in the coastal plain because it was thought that great horned owls were a problem in the mountains, although that's becoming a problem in the coastal plain as well. So, I mean, that's a hard question to answer, which is a more dangerous habitat in terms of predators actually queuing in on peregrine falcons. Don't know the answer to that question.
The students help the chicks on the final leg of their journey to freedom. Released on a rocky ledge at Hawksbill Mountain, the birds will be on their own to fly around the countryside or halfway around the world. After all, peregrine means wanderer.
I enjoyed looking or touching the talon of the peregrine falcon. It's pretty sharp, pretty scary. Wouldn't want to be hit by one of those.
I've always loved animals and learning about nature, and I've enjoyed getting up close and personal with all the falcons today.
Well, I thought one of the really interesting things was how they attack their prey, how they'll just club them in midair with their feet and then come back around and snatch them up out of the air.
I think it's a great effort to protect such pristine, wonderful birds. They're really important to our environment, and we can't lose such a great species, part of our history, part of our American culture.